Hi guys, it's Marissa and I just wanted to check in with you. I was at a housing industry forum on Friday and we were talking about all of the potential proposed changes that both parties are looking to bring in at the following the upcoming election if they get elected. I must say I'm worried. I'm very concerned. I've never sort of paid so much attention to an election as I have this year because I think some of the proposed changes that Labor are looking to bring in are going to be very, very bad for a lot of Australians, and not the wealthy Australians. I think the everyday mums and dads, the people that are just trying to get ahead, the people that are renting, the low income earners. I think it's going to hurt them. So I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I wanted to just share my thoughts with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts because I think that it's important to spread the message and talk about these things. I guess the things that I'm talking about is Labor's proposed changes to abolish negative gearing and to increase capital gains tax. So obviously they're trying to get more revenue, more tax revenue. They want to be able to raise tax revenue. And they do say that they're trying to help first home buyers, but I don't see how these policies are going to help first home buyers. I guess my thoughts on it is that I am predicting that if these policies are implemented, if Labor wins the election, then rents will increase. Now, if rents increase, that will impact low-income earners because we already see that there's a rental affordability crisis in many capital cities in Australia. So there's already a situation where low-income earners are struggling to find affordable rentals. If we have less rental properties available because we have less investors available, that is going to increase rents, which is going to make more pressure on housing affordability for low-income earners. It's also going to put more pressure on those first home buyers that are trying to desperately save a deposit whilst they're renting. I mean, if their rent goes up, how are they supposed to save a deposit? I think it was the research showed on Friday that in South Australia, or in Adelaide, average rental is going to go up by about $57 a week. Now, that's considerable if you're trying to save a deposit on buying your first home. It's also considerable if the rent that you're paying currently is as much as you can afford. Adding an extra $57 per week onto that is going to hurt a lot of Australians. And obviously in the eastern states and other capital cities, it will be a lot higher potentially. So that's something that I'm really concerned about. And, the evidence suggests that will definitely happen. Labor tried to abolish negative gearing in 1985. It was a disaster. Rents skyrocketed. People couldn't afford it. It put, huge social housing problem onto the government. And they had to bring negative gearing back 2 years later in 1987. So I don't know what the Labor government is thinking. I don't understand why they think it will work this time if it didn't work then. So that's the first thing. I guess the other thing that concerns me is that, Labor are clearly trying to, they're trying to take away, or they're trying to make it less attractive for people to invest in property. Now, that seems absurd to me as well. I don't understand why they would want less people trying to fund their own retirement through, purchasing property and being able to supply affordable rentals for other people. So that just seems like an absurd, thing to me. And, quite frankly, we can't afford more Australians to be relying on the pension system. So I just don't get it. I don't see any advantages. We're in a time in the cycle, like the property market's been through a beating with the Royal Commission and the APRA and the credit tightening. We're already seeing property prices in the eastern states drop substantially. Some people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity in their home in the last 6 months. So this is not the time to be putting more pressure on the housing market. So I guess I'm very concerned about what it's going to mean. I think that if Labor do get in following the election and do implement these proposals that they're talking about, then my prediction is that rents will increase. There will be a social housing issue that the government will have to deal with, which will be very problematic and very unfortunate for low-income earners. It will be a lot harder for first home buyers to get the deposit they need to get their foot in the door and get the properties that they want to get. So I just think that there's better ways that these. I think there's better ways that these can be achieved. Like, for example, if they wanted to help first home buyers, I think it would be much better if, a federal government came out and abolished stamp duty across Australia for all first home buyers. That would give first home buyers a great advantage and mean that they could get into the market with less deposit. Now, that would give them a real heads up. I guess the other thing would be if we could get some banks to come out and offer a 40-year loan term instead of a 30-year loan term. That would help with the servicing calculations, which means that lower income earners will be able to get into the market sooner. So I think if you can think outside the box, there are a lot more ways to help the people that Labor are claiming to try and help, which would actually help them rather than disadvantage them. So that's keen to hear your thoughts on what you think about this. And I guess the other thing to mention is that, a lot of people are expecting interest rates to drop tomorrow when the Reserve Bank of Australia meet, which is, interest rates have been steady for a long time. We thought that we had hit the bottom. We thought it couldn't get any lower, but now we're looking at a situation where potentially rates will drop tomorrow. And we're already seeing that today some of the fixed rates, some banks have reduced their fixed rates, which is further suggestion to say that rates will drop tomorrow. And that's further indication of the fact that this is not the timing to be putting more pressure on the housing market by disincentivizing investors to invest in property. So, I think the policies are flawed, and I think they're going to cause problems for a lot of Australians, not the wealthy Australians. I think it will cause problem for the everyday Australians who are just trying to pay their mortgage, just trying to keep on top of their bills, and just trying to make it through. So, I'm worried about it. I hope that when you turn up to the election on the 18th of May that you go into the election informed. Obviously, there's a lot of good policies that both parties have. There's also a lot of bad policies that both parties have, but these are the two policies that I think will have a really big negative impact on the lives of lots of Australians. So anyway, they're my thoughts. Love to hear yours, so send me a note. Thanks, bye.